Hello to all of our InfoBlox partner SEs, anyone else who's technically minded. We're glad to have you with us today. This is the BLOXCAST Learning and Selling Together series. Our topic today is reporting and analytics, top reports for security infrastructure, data protection, and malware mitigation. With us is Brandon Berg, Senior Manager, Worldwide Partner Programs, Roger Barlow, Senior Product Manager, DDI, and Robert Rose, Senior Product Marketing Manager for DDI. And now here to get us started, Brandon Berg.
Hey, Rick. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Want to tackle a couple of things to make sure our partners are aware. I'm going to go ahead and share some slides here. First, you should have received our monthly edition of Partner Pulse in your mailbox. And one of the most important things in Partner Pulse, our newsletter, is the launch of our second half of the year SPIF. We have our Cash In with ATC 100 activation SPIF. The SPIF is all around ATC, as you might imagine. And the whole point of the SPIF is for you to utilize the selling tool that we have, the ATC 100 SKU, to get customer proof of concepts up and running and to convert those into full ATC opportunities, and then to give you a big bonus to actually close. So overall, there's a number of phases here, and you can qualify for the SPIF at each of these phases. But really what we want you to maximize your earnings. So you would be awarded $250 for the ATC 100 activation. If the opportunity was a 5,000 licensed user opportunity, you would get rewarded for the approval of that deal registration of $500. And then if that opportunity closes by the end of our fiscal year, July 31st, your total earnings would be $1,500. Everything that you had earned previously would be doubled. So the SPIF is really simple to get started, and it's easy to claim, easy to monitor your status, and the payout is super simple using our Extreme platform. So we hope you take advantage of this SPIF this second half of the year. And with all of my housekeeping complete and making sure you know about the SPIF, I want to go ahead and turn the program over to Bob Rose.
Thanks so much, Brandon, and thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for InfoBlox's SE BLOXCAST for reporting and analytics. Today, we're going to showcase the top reports for security. And so to get things kicked off, Roger, when it comes to the network, how critical is visibility and reporting in dealing with infrastructure and data protection and malware mitigation? Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So having visibility into what's going on in your network is absolutely critical from a security perspective. You can't secure what you can't see. And if you just have security mechanisms in your network and you're not really metering what they're doing, how do you know when you're under attack? How do you know when there's a problem? You might be protected, but you can't go and then take a responsive action if you don't have the visibility and to see what's going on. So absolutely, visibility is critical when it comes to securing your network.
All right, well, the good news is reporting and analytics integrated with our InfoBlox grid can address a number of these issues around infrastructure protection, data protection, and malware mitigation. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's agenda. Today, we're going to spend some time on the critical business concerns. Security challenges will be in focus today. We're going to take just a brief look at security from an overview perspective. We'll also share a little around the core network services and the simplified cost-effective deployment. And then we're going to highlight for you some of the sample reports, and then we're going to actually look at more intently at some of the top reports that we have for security. In fact, there's 7 that we want to bring to your attention today and how those are integrated into the dashboard. And then we'll wrap up with promos and resources, some opportunities along with some Q&A. So as we get done, by the time you're done, you'll know how to use reporting analytics security to gain complete network visibility anytime from any place. Also, what's important to know about network infrastructure and data vulnerabilities, and gain some visibility to mitigate malware impacts. We're also, by the time we're done, you'll be able to see from the reports how to detect DNS-based threats and solve problems faster with current and historical views. And then, of course, how our top 7 pre-built reports and dashboard integrations can level the playing field when combating security threats. So these are all important things as we get started. So let's look first at the 4 critical business concerns. So this really looks across a continuum of time when it comes to trying to manage core services across the network. So from the audit compliance standpoint, that looks back at what happened, right? How easily is it to track and report what has happened over time? App uptime and performance is also a critical business concern. Is DDI impacting application availability and performance in the now, right? It's what's happening right now. That's very critical for most companies. And then, of course, looking forward, what will happen in the future from a capacity planning perspective? When will our current capacity not meet current future business requirements? That's really important for business continuity. All of those are things that we've actually spent some time on over the last few months, but today's focus is really on security. Where are DNS security vulnerabilities and impacted devices? That's in the now, and that's why we want to spend some time today talking about how reporting and analytics can really help with our focus on security. And so, you know, as security becomes more and more proactive, how easy is it to identify if end devices have security vulnerabilities or might be using DNS, in fact, as a way to communicate with a botnet host or stealing critical data via DNS? So let's go ahead and take a look. Next slide. So, you know, there are a number of challenges in terms of finding vulnerabilities. And the reality is that networks are complex and diverse. They're geographically spread out. You might have a private cloud setup. You might have a hybrid cloud environment leveraging Amazon Web Services. And some parts of your network may still have aging physical infrastructure, which could be running old software or firmware. And, you know, combining all of that, those are complexities that really make it hard to identify risks and non-compliant devices. Insecure network devices can easily be hacked or locked down, affecting the availability of your infrastructure and services. So these are, you know, these are challenges businesses face every day. And so let's look at the next slide. DNS attack impacts certainly have an effect on availability and performance of business critical applications. DDoS attacks certainly can happen at any point. As the data indicates, DNS-based attacks on the network still continue to be a major threat. According to one survey, 78% of the application layer attacks use DNS. The impact of these attacks is serious. I mean, if we have an outage, we're losing money. People can't get on. We're losing productivity. So living in this digital economy means that not having network access has gone really from a minor inconvenience to one that impacts revenue and profitability. Not only does the attack and associated downtime cost the organization, but worse, the ability to recover is even more complex and labor intensive if you're not prepared. So let's look at the 3 areas of security and specifically where Infoblox can help. The first is in the area of infrastructure protection. In terms of that, focused on better application and service availability. That's absolutely critical. The second one is in the area of data protection and malware mitigation, and that's all about protecting users and data. And then the third area, of course, is threat containment and operations, and that's about efficiency and optimization of security operations. So those are the three areas really that many companies are concerned about. Those are the areas of security that we as Infoblox will be able to assist with. And really their focus then today is to look into reporting and analytics for specific security visibility and how we can get actionable insight in each of these areas. So as we look at this, as we look at reporting and analytics for security, Roger, taking a look at that infrastructure protection, you know, how can reporting and analytics really help to protect our infrastructure?
Reporting and analytics can help by bringing the visibility into that, into the devices on the network, right? So remember, infrastructure protection is all about protecting the devices on the network. So of course, seeing what's out there is step number one, so that we can actually ensure that it's protected. Also looking at the sort of malicious activity in the environment through our DNS firewall or through our data exfiltration capability, detection capability, helps identify attack points and patterns on the network. Looking at network device configuration with our Network Insight or our NetMRI product helps us identify you know, where there's potentially devices that are misconfigured or on a vulnerable version of the network device operating system. Detecting network devices with vulnerabilities, also, again, through our DNS firewall and exfiltration, some of our NX domain reports, those sort of things will identify devices that might be vulnerable or have actually been taken over. Uncovered DNS, DDoS exploits, cache poisoning, NX domain. These are all reports that we have. Again, these just sort of help you identify when the infrastructure has been compromised. Exposing DNS hijacking and tunneling attempts also. Again, just identifying when somebody is attacking your infrastructure and potentially trying to take it over or render it unusable, which would certainly impact business.
And then what about protecting our data and mitigating against malware attacks?
Again, so this is a lot of the same types of reports and same types of data, but if you think about this from the perspective of data protection, this is making sure your data doesn't leave your network. And also malware mitigation, making sure that if you've got malware on your network, that it's not exfiltrating data or it's not spreading through your network or it's not able to go back and talk to its command and control, right? So again, step number one is identifying the devices and hosts that are on your network, know what's out there, make sure you're keeping an eye on it, and then spotting the infected endpoints, right? So of the devices that are on your network, which ones are the ones that potentially could have been compromised? And we do that through discovering you know, what devices are doing malicious activities through DNS avenues. Discovering the network context for prioritization, right? So if you have a guest network, maybe you're not as concerned about that versus your production network, right? So understanding which subnets relate to which function in the organization is important as well. Finding contextual information on threat actors and threat campaigns and breaches in the organization. So having good threat intel is critical as well. Just because someone's doing DNS tunneling doesn't mean they're a bad guy, right? There's all kinds of legitimate reasons why you would do DNS tunneling. So getting some contextual information on what they're tunneling to can help you identify whether it's a good guy or a bad guy. Catching zero-day threats using big data, machine learning, and streaming analytics. So we've got some great analytics algorithms that can just look at the flow of DNS traffic and identify when something is not right. And we can do this without even having any knowledge of what the attack is. We understand what normal flows of DNS activity looks like, and when something becomes abnormal, we can leverage analytics to flag that. And of course, accelerating remediation by sharing DNS IOCs with the ecosystem. So we've got great ecosystem integration where we can share what's going on in the DNS security environment, as well as share our threat intel.
And then in terms of having reporting around containing threats and especially their impact on operations, we have solutions for that, but how does reporting and analytics help in that area?
So when we're trying to contain the threat, the first thing you need to understand is what is the threat, and the faster you can understand what it is, what it's doing, the faster you can dispose of it, right? So we have some great threat intel that helps you understand faster what it is you're dealing with, and then hopefully quickly how to quickly resolve it. And then, of course, accessing the context for those threat indicators, understanding where it is on the network, what it's doing based on what its function is. Automatically sharing the DNS IOCs with security ecosystem, right? So sending out alerts through our alerting mechanisms, making other systems aware that there's a threat, sharing threat vectors with other systems like SIM/SIM systems, so that they can make a better informed decision or a better informed analysis about what the source of the attack might be. Sharing network context, so just our typical IPAN information, right? What subnet is it on? What is the operating system based on DHCP fingerprint? What is the lease history? So on and so forth. Those are all critical things in understanding a threat and how it's moved across the network. And then consolidate threat intelligence from multiple sources, and then eliminating silos and speed remediation via a single portal. And that boils down to, again, our threat intel capabilities, where you can get basically all of the data on a given threat, and package that up and share it with ecosystems or people directly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is outstanding. Just, everything around protecting the network, the devices, containing threats, et cetera, it all really starts with having fast visibility, real-time insights into what's happening. Obviously, today, our focus isn't to share all of Infoblox's solutions in each of these three areas. Again, we're just focusing on the reporting side. But why don't we move forward now and see how reporting analytics actually fits into the core network services?
Okay, so Infoblox has moved beyond just DNS in DHCP protocol, right? Of course, we've got a rich IPAN interface as well, but as we just talked about, and as you know, we're also doing a lot to add to that core DDI capability. We've got virtual discovery, where we can go into hypervisors and understand their networking topology. We've got physical network, where we can do layer 2 and layer 3 discovery and get a deeper view into what a network looks like. We've got integrations with Microsoft, where we can manage Microsoft serving protocol members that are out on the network transparently alongside Infoblox devices, and report on them as well. We've got our network automation, our network insight product that can go in and discover configurations of switches and network devices, and enrich IPAN with all that data. So there's a lot of data that gets exchanged through the Infoblox platform. In addition to that, devices don't get on the network, and they don't communicate across the network unless they go through us. So we've got, again, some great, interesting information about what's going on in the network. Reporting and analytics allows you to take all of that and tie it all together and visualize it in a single console. So you can get deeper visibility into all of those ongoings, and really get a historical view and get a clear understanding of what's going on the network.
Roger, can you share with us now a little bit about the simple, cost-effective deployment and how that works?
Absolutely. So one of the things that customers love about this product is you can literally deploy it in 20 minutes. It's super easy to deploy. You don't have to do a lot of upfront work to architect a platform if you're going to do it yourself. You don't have to take a lot of time to figure out how to get all of the data from all of your DNS and DHCP appliances into a single location. You don't have to go through the work of parsing all of the data and generating insightful reports. We provide over 100 reports out of the box, plus we've got a very strong community where well over 50 reports have been contributed to. And we've actually also made it equally as easy to do disaster recovery in high availability. Everything is built around the Infoblox appliance deployment methodology. So when you want to add reporting and analytics, it's literally just the matter of adding one or more grid members into your grid that are designated for reporting, and now you've got a functional reporting solution.
That's awesome. So what we'd like to do now is shift to our first polling question. And the question that we would really appreciate your feedback and insights on is, what is the most difficult security challenge customers face? And so from your experience, there are 4 choices here. Read through those, select one, the one that actually most pertains to your experience and what you've seen, and we'll give you a minute to do that. And then we'll go ahead and show you the results based on the feedback from the field.
Okay, we've got about a third of the people responding. Let's let it climb just a little higher, and then we'll get our results posted. A couple more of you vote. Okay, let's go ahead and close that poll. And here you go.
So it looks like how to protect infrastructure and data and mitigate malware impacts and contain threats to operations. So that's the leader, and then of course having full visibility and awareness. So thank you for your feedback. Much appreciated on that. Let's turn our focus now to the sample reports. We have just a tremendous number of pre-built sample reports, and frankly, it's a lot easier than do it yourself. One of the biggest questions asked is, why would I purchase reporting analytics if I already have a reporting engine like Splunk? But if customers already use a tool like Splunk, they understand the value of detailed visibility and tracking. So Infoblox just takes it up multiple levels. First, we have integrated data collection with Splunk, with the Splunk engine specifically, so you can really take advantage of the powerful customization and visualization options. But the big difference is really on what's added. So first of all, reporting analytics has access to data that's simply not available with other tools. I mean, we built the best collection capabilities with super tight integration with our DDI platform. So customers have access to information that no one else can on their network. They can leverage reporting analytics from a centralized data archival technique that uses the grid technology. So that provides the most comprehensive data collection with minimal indexing requirements. Often, Infoblox reporting analytics actually uses less indexing, which means less cost than Splunk itself. In addition, instead of requiring a team to figure out what data to collect and validate it and do the building of the reports, Infoblox actually has already done it for the customer. We live and breathe DDI, and we provide accurate, validated results. We also have algorithms and predictive reports that no other platform provides. That helps remove the guesswork from intelligence and analysis. And finally, we have over 100 reports out of the box with the ability to customize hundreds or thousands of others. In addition, we have a community that often updates reports and makes those available to those in the community. And so it's really advantageous, because instead of having to figure out what reports might be possible or what you might need, you can certainly leverage the base and customize based on the company's needs. So even though Infoblox uses Splunk under the hood, these key differences really provide a massive value enhancement versus having to do it all yourself. So there is a reporting book that is available, and we're going to actually leverage that today as we get into some of the details in just a few minutes. But let's take a peek and see what's available. So here are some of the report categories that we have. I'm not going to read all of these out to you, but we do provide real-time management using extensive customizable historical reporting and predictive analytics engines. And so out-of-the-box reports allow the customers to open and customize and really start using reporting today without making it a huge project or getting resources together and building it all from scratch, right? So it's about collecting and analyzing, visualizing granular core network data. It involves performing, free-form searches and producing interactive reports and dashboards that have drill-down capabilities that can conduct detailed investigation of events, identify anomalies, easily collect compliance data, and share reports and dashboards. There's certainly the ability to use predictive analytics, as we've mentioned, and then capture and share reports via, as I mentioned just a moment ago, the InfoBlocks community to network ideas and best practices, and ultimately manage DDI deployments with the most reliable and secure service for the best real-time management views and robust customizable reporting. And as Roger mentioned, all of this in a single platform. Today, our focus is really on ecosystem reports and dashboards and security. So without further ado, we're going to start highlighting for you the top 7 reports. Roger, can you take us through number 7?
Absolutely. So number 7 is, we've selected the DNS top NX domain no error. Now, we've got a ton of reports out of the box, as Bob mentioned. It was tough for us to narrow it down to the top 7. Of course, that's going to vary from organization to organization and what their business needs are. But we did our best here to narrow it down to the top 7 as we see them. So this is the top NX domain no error. What is it? Well, it lists the queries that clients have made that resulted in NX domain or no error responses. This is useful to network and security admins. It could be an indicator for a network admin that maybe a client is misconfigured or is looking for an application that doesn't exist. Or it could also be an indicator to security admin that a client is doing something bad on the network. It's important, again, because it identifies the queries to rename or remove servers that are on the network. So if you've had a domain expire or a DNS name has been changed or something, this would help you identify clients that are still looking for that. It also finds potential misconfigurations by clients that are looking for a domain name that might be mistyped or spelled incorrectly or something like that. So these are, again, are good indicators that things are going wrong with clients, either users or configurations and applications. How do you get it? Well, it's out of the box, and it leverages our Active Trust Advanced product as well. So with reporting and Active Trust Advanced, you start to getting this visibility right away. Now, a practical use case of this, let's use a security one as an example. So maybe there's a client that's infected with malware on the network, and it's malware that uses domain name generation algorithm. Now, of course, it's using domain name generation, so it's using a bunch of domain names that it might have pre-programmed, and it's looking for one of those domains to be active. And maybe there's thousands of domains, and it's only looking for only one of those thousands of domains is going to be active. You're going to see quite a bit of NX domain activity there. So this is a good indicator that there's a piece of malware on your network that's using a DGA. The other problem is when you have clients that do this, whether it's due to malware or misconfiguration, the more NX domain activity that you have goes on, what happens is that NX domain activity actually fills up the cache and potentially reduces the DNS server response for legitimate queries. So there's a bit of a DDoS-ish kind of activity going on here, where you've got a client doing illegitimate stuff, resulting in a penalty to clients that are trying to do legitimate traffic. So let's go ahead and take a look at this report in real time. So here's our InfoBlocks reporting and analytics demo system. I'm going to head over to dashboards and filter this down to NX domain. And here's our top NX domain no error report here. And what I can do right away is I can turn up the time frame here. I'm going to go back and look at everything over the previous year. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's probably gone on over the previous year, and you can see that this will come back pretty quickly. So it's pretty snappy in terms of getting results back to you. We can already see that we've got a particular domain name here that gets hit quite a lot. That is non-existent, vic.example.net. Obviously, this is test data. And we can visualize this in a number of different ways. We can look at this bar chart. We can look at it in a table format, which gives us the raw metrics, or we can sort of overlay both here. We can export this as a PDF. Also, we've really simplified the ability to drill down into this. We've got all kinds of filters here. Right now, we're looking for the top 10 domain names here. We could up that to a larger number if we wanted to see more of the NX domains that are being searched for out there. We can filter it out by the specific member that's making that's getting the queries. We could filter it out by DNS view, and we can also, maybe we are concerned more with no error versus NX domain. We can filter that out. So lots of flexibility in filtering. You don't have to be an expert in any particular reporting technology. We're obviously built on Splunk here. You don't have to have any Splunk expertise, but if you do have Splunk expertise, you can actually open this up into the Splunk search processing language. This is the search processing language string that drives this report. And of course, we can look at the raw data set that comes from the Infoblox grid members that creates this data set here. So we've got a lot of flexibility here. If we want to customize this, we can now tweak the search processing language and get whatever custom view that we wanted to get here. Okay, so that was report number 7. Let's take a look at report number 6. So report number 6, we chose the threat protection top rules by source report. This one lists the top source IPs hitting each threat rule. So these are the rules as identified by our threat intelligence. This is important for network admins and security admins. One, it's important for network admins because we can see what devices on the network are doing bad things. And they might be doing things that are impacting network performance. So if something's going on and I suspect that there's an issue, I might want to look at this report and see, who's doing bad stuff out there, and maybe I just want to shut his port off or kick him off the network. And of course, it's useful to security admins because we want to know when people are doing bad stuff on the network. Maybe we want to go talk to who owns the system, do a virus scan. There's a bunch of actions we might want to take against people who are doing bad things on the network. So identifying who's doing what is critical. And again, why is it important? This kind of recaps what I just said, but it enables admins to also better tune the rule thresholds as to what traffic they want to block through the Active Trust product or what traffic they don't. This comes out of the box and requires the advanced DNS protection product. So this will look at also this is leveraging ADP, which is our DDoS and mitigation, threat mitigation tool as well. So let's think of a use case here. Again, a security admin knows a client's infected by malware. They want to drill deeper into what the malware is doing on the network and get some forensics on it. This report will show the attack methodologies and the frequencies of that malware and what it's doing with the DNS infrastructure. So let's take a look at this one real time. So we'll go ahead back to our reporting demo system, and I'm going to search for protection. Sorry, was it protection? Protection, yeah. And we're doing protection top rules by source. And again, I'm going to come in here. Actually, it looks like I don't need to tweak the date. So here we can see, again, we've got a very similar interface. We've got all kinds of flexibility around filtering and massaging the data that we get back. And then we see the results here. We can see, this is actually not the right report. We want to see top threat protection top rules by source. This is logged by source. Actually, I take that back. This is the correct one, but we've got multiple views here. So we can look at just this chart, or we can also look at this table view, which gives us the specifics that we saw in the screenshot, right? So I can see who the source is, the source IP, the number of events that IP has done, and then the rules that they are, the security rules that they're violating, right? So we see UDP DNS unexpected or early drop UDP DNS named author attempts and early drop UDP DNS named D version attempts. So, and we can see when they last made these attacks as well. So a lot of information about who's doing what here. Maybe we have a specific IP address that we know is a bad actor on the network, so we can filter by that IP address here and then get the specifics of just that IP address. So a lot of ability to go and do forensic type activities here. Okay, so that is number 6. Let's take a look at number 5, which is top malware and DNS tunneling by client. So this is a report that lists the clients that on the network that are doing DNS tunneling activities in a given time frame. This is important to network and security admins. It's important because it identifies the top infected clients trying to get data off the network potentially through DNS tunneling. That's obviously a very bad thing. It enables the security teams to go and attack that and prevent that sort of activity right away. This will actually do it in an automated way, but we'll also call out through reports who's doing it, even though we've blocked it, so that we can go and take action against those clients on the network. So the use case here is security teams looking for bad actors. Maybe it's a bad actor like Ashton Kutcher or Will Ferrell. And the report combines the malicious DNS queries and exfiltration attempts to find out who those bad actors are and hopefully expunge them from Hollywood. Let's take a look at the report in real time. So our DNS tunneling by client. We'll go into our dashboard and we'll look for tunneling. And here's our DNS top malware DNS tunneling events by client. So here's our real-time view. We don't have any tunneling activity this week. So again, I'll change my time frame here and we'll look over the past year and see if anybody's done any tunneling in this environment. And again, we're searching a whole year's time frame of data. It can take a little bit of time because we're going back pretty far in this instance, but it should come back in a reasonable amount of time here for us. And while that's loading, I'll point out the filters that we have here. So obviously we have the time filter, which I just utilized. We've got the members, so we can limit this to a specific member and the clients that are querying that member. We can limit this to the source IP address. One thing that's worth pointing out here is we can use wildcards or CIDR notation. So if I want to look only at a specific subnet, I can filter that out using this as well. We can also look at the whether or not it's a NATed IP address and then the source port that's making the query here. Okay, so we've got some results back and we can see who the top clients are. In this case, again, this is a demo environment, so we've got one client who's doing most of the bad stuff here. But we can see that this 192.168.1.103 is doing some really bad stuff on our network. If we click on that system, we'll get some deeper information about the specifics of what he's doing. But his total outbound malicious queries in this case are 348,000, with the last one being in December of 2017. So again, you can see here we've got great historical views about who's been doing bad stuff on the network, who the top talker is. We can very easily sort, right? Sort by date here or sort by the top number of queries. Maybe we want to look at the most recent one versus the most prolific ones. Again, you don't have to have any Splunk expertise. We've already done all the hard work here of getting this data to the forefront for you and making a usable report that you can start consuming right away. All right, so let's take a look at the next report, which would be number 4, tunneling traffic by category. So this one lists the information about DNS tunneling activities in specific categories, so that the tunneling type and the percentage of events by DNS tunneling category events in a given time frame. So whatever time frame you select here, this is important for all the same reasons as the last one for the network and security admins. It provides the visibility to the top categories of DNS tunneling, and it just really, again, services that to the forefront. An example use case here is some applications are designed to use DNS tunneling out there. For example, Spotify has been known to use DNS tunneling to get you a network connectivity, even if you're on like a walled network. There's also some antivirus apps out there that also use DNS tunneling intentionally. So if you join, maybe a hotspot that you have to pay to get access to, they can still go out and get the latest and greatest rules and make sure you're protected. So there is legitimate reasons to do DNS tunneling, as I mentioned before, but security admins are looking for deeper details on what's going on with exfiltration, whether it's good exfiltration or bad exfiltration, and this is the kind of report that would help you identify that. So let's take a look at this report in real time. We're going to search for tunneling. And we've got DNS tunneling traffic by category. So as with before, we don't have any recent tunneling here, so I'm going to have to go back and set it to previous year time frame. It's going to go back and search that data set. And while it's doing that, we can talk about the filters. Obviously, we've got the time filter. We can look at the top categories here. By default, it does 10. I don't even think we have 500 categories. If you select 500, you're going to see them all. We can narrow it down by member, and we've got a couple of different views we can look at here. So we can see that most of the tunneling activity that's gone on in this environment has been detected by our analytics engine. That's our threat analytics. If there was other tunneling types of activities that we gathered through our threat intel, we would surface and expose that here. We can look at this as the pie chart view, as a table view, or we can look at it with one overlaid over the other. Okay, so let's move on to report number 3, which is our DNS top tunneling activity. This is the overall DNS tunneling activity. It lists the clients that have the most number of DNS tunneling activities in a given time frame. It's important to network and security admins for all the aforementioned reasons for the other tunneling reports. The use case on this is security teams are looking for the clients who are attempting to exfiltrate data, as with before. Again, this report helps identify them. So let's take a look at that one. So this is very similar to the past couple of tunneling reports we looked at. This is the overall tunneling activity report, though. So let's go ahead and look at the tunneling activity for the previous year. As with before, you can see we can sort by the top number of clients, the members that are servicing the requests, the source IP address or subnet if you use wildcards or CIDR notation, the source port. Maybe we're looking for a particular piece of malware that uses a specific port, and then the NAT status. And when we get the results back, we can see the total counts of DNS tunneling attempts for a given client over the past year. And we can do this as either the chart, the table, or one overlaid over the other, as we did before. And as before, all of these can be shared with a PDF with external teams. Let's move on to report number 2, which is malicious activity by client. So this one's a little bit different. This shows clients with the most malicious activity on the network. And this is, again, based off of our threat intel, basically the RPZ rules that we have through Active Trust. This is useful for network admins and security admins. For network admins, it's just useful to see what clients are doing this bad behavior, and if they're doing enough to impact network services, we can potentially block them or black hole them. Security admins, of course, need to know this data so that they know which devices are potentially infected by malware that's leveraging the DNS attack vector. A use case here is a device was compromised last month. What types of activities were associated with it? We need to go back and look at what it was doing. This keeps not only a real-time, but also a historical view of what devices were infected over time. Maybe we discovered that it's infected today. We want to go back and see how far back it's been infected. That would be a great use for a report like this. So let's take a look at our malicious activity by client report. Okay, so here's our live view of that, and we're gonna have to tweak the time frame on this again since we don't have any recent malicious activity, which is good. We've got our environment under control here. And again, we can see that that pesky 192.168.1.103 system is doing a lot of activity on the network here. So here we can see he's a top talker by far, but we can also do a table view and get more specifics of exactly what he's doing. So he's got 348,975 events, and we can see all of the bad domains that he's been talking to. So this is, we know exactly what kind of bad stuff he's been doing. And we can oftentimes identify the malware by the domains that they're communicating with. So again, we have the ability to come in here and search for those domains and see what clients are talking to them. So great insights into what's going on with this report. All right, and drum roll please. We're gonna move on to report number 1. And that is our DNS top RPZ hits report. So this is somewhat similar to the last one. It shows us which clients are doing the most malicious activities on the network. It's useful to the network and security admins for all the aforementioned reasons. Again, it's leveraging our active trust and RPZ information to identify what clients are doing the most sort of bad DNS queries on the network. An example use case here is the security admin needs to identify all clients hitting a no malicious domain or all malicious domains a known infected client is hitting. So we can look at either one of those vectors, right? Who's querying a known bad domain, or what domains is a known bad client querying. So let's take a look at that in real time. Our DNS top RPZ hits. So we'll go to dashboards, search for RPZ, DNS top RPZ hits. Here we go. Again, we've got all kinds of great filter capabilities here that allow us to really hone in on what it is that we need to get based on our business need. We can sort by a specific client, as mentioned before. We could search for a specific domain name, as mentioned before. But in here, we can see, again, we've got this 192.168.103 client doing all kinds of bad stuff. We can see that we've got a lot of major activity here. Maybe I only really care about major stuff or critical, for example. Let's see if we can narrow this down by critical if we get any data. Is this guy doing any critical security activity in the network? Fortunately not. Major is definitely a concern though as well. So let's filter out by only the major activity here. And we can see what domain names he's hitting that are a major concern for us. So we definitely want to go and run a virus scan on this program or hand it off to our security team so that they can take care of that. We can also, as mentioned before, share this data as a PDF. The other thing I want to point out is we can open this into the backend search, which gives us the raw material for this here. And what we can do if we want, for example, let's say I'm a network administrator, I own this tool, and I want to share this data with my security tool. Maybe I've got a SIM-SEM system. What I can do here is save this as an alert and program this to happen on a regular basis. So I'm going to give it a trigger condition that's always true. So as long as it's giving me data back, right, the number of results is greater than 0, this is always going to run. And maybe I want to run it every hour. So this is now going to run this report every hour. And if there's bad activity on the network, I'm going to program it to do an action. And maybe I want to send an email with the details to my security team. Or maybe I want to use an SNMP trap, and I'm trapping out to my SIM-SEM system. Or maybe I want to do a file transfer, which will take the raw data set that gets returned back and deposit it on an external server where it can then be re-indexed or reparsed for further processing. So this is sort of an example of how we're able to share all of this data with the security ecosystem and the other tools on the network that are involved in identifying and stomping out threats, as we discussed earlier in the presentation. So those are our top 7 reports. Let me go ahead and hand it over to Bob to take us to the polling question.
Roger, thanks so much. That was outstanding. I mean, he just identified, right, the top 7. That's not even really the frost on the tip of the iceberg, right? So you just get a real sense for the power of our reporting and analytics capabilities. We'd like to now shift to our second polling question. What keeps customers from using the reporting and analytics free tier. We'd like your feedback on this. And so go ahead and read through these answers. Pick the one that you've encountered most with customers, and then we'll close it up and see what the results are. And thanks again for sharing your feedback with us.
Go ahead and select your answer and then submit your answer. We'll take a look in just a moment. Okay, numbers are climbing, but we still are holding steady in proportion. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. There we are.
All right, it looks like customers don't know about it, and customers are concerned about cost. That's interesting, actually, because it's the free tier, right? So the way this is set up, we do have a free tier that they can actually trial reporting analytics at no cost. So, you know, that's interesting. So thank you for your feedback. We appreciate that. Let's go on now as we look to some of the things that are available. There is a subscription discount. We know that the perpetual license has some scaling limits to it, so we're extending a 50% discount from the partner for any perpetual customer switching to a subscription license. So this is great for query logging. We didn't really talk too much about query logging today, but that is one of the capabilities with reporting analytics, but especially for high traffic volumes. A previous perpetual reporting purchase is required, but there's no active maintenance, no minimum max indexing requirement. Customers can actually prepay up to 5 years, and more information is available through our sales reps, but this expires actually August of 2018. So great opportunity to take advantage of that. In addition to that, looking at our free tier, you know, this is a great way for customers to trial reporting analytics. So essentially, this is a software license where they get a free 500 megabytes of indexing per day. In this license, it's free for subscription virtual machine or paid subscription with physical appliances. And this essentially controls the data. And it's designed to maximize indexing capacity. So perhaps you know, you might run up to the 500 megabyte free tier threshold fairly quickly if you have a large network. So you can actually pick which index capacity you need: 2 gigabytes, 5, 10, 20 gigabytes per day. And so it's flexible in terms of identifying your needs. In addition to that, upgrades are available for large and highly active grids and DNS query logging and response logging, as well as sending syslog data. This is, again, available for existing DDI customers. They have to have NIA 7.3 or later. In addition, they can go on the website and actually download a form for reporting and analytics and get that even today if they wanted to. So this is a great tool for them to trial reporting and analytics. So let's take a look now at some of the additional InfoBlox resources that are available. We have lots of videos online. There's a data sheet with some specs and a solution note online as well. There are free learning videos. There's reporting analytics deployment guide. And of course, we've mentioned just briefly a couple of times the InfoBlox community, so customers can actually join that. We have the sample reporting book as well as we've seen today. And then the reporting forum is available for sharing knowledge and networking. And then there's also a threat summary sheet that's available as well to kind of give you a little bit deeper dive into some of the threats that might impact the network. So just some great resources that are available there. And then next slide. You know, at this point, Roger, let's summarize, you know, why InfoBlox, right? It's all about essential security visibility. So can you take us through this, Roger?
Yeah, so essential security visibility allows us to really harness the rich network data that we talked about before, right? So all of the different types of data that we get through the InfoBlox platform and the value add pieces that go on top of it to gain the actionable insights. It allows you to monitor, analyze, and secure the network devices and the applications that are out there, starting with discovering them all, and then get the attack details, right? Using our threat intel and our threat analytics capabilities, figure out who's doing what, what member is servicing the request, what the rule they're hitting is, what the severity is, when it happened, all kinds of rich information around that. Getting visibility into the source of the attacks, what is the type of attack, who's making it, what client do we need to go and shut down, how serious is it, how does it impact me, and then finally, the early identification, isolation of issues for corrective action. So for the network admin, can we identify when a client's potentially going to do something harmful to the network and stop them from doing it before it actually becomes a problem?
That's right. So, well, what's our call to action here? These are some reporting analytics opportunities. So as we mentioned, there's a 50% discount on the subscription promotion. So you can have their customers grab that before it's gone. In addition, customers can request the reporting and analytics free tier, and they can see the breadth and depth of DNS data, as Roger's been taking us through today. Again, it's all about visibility. And then there are some free learning videos that are available. Again, the reporting analytics deployment guide, the sample reporting book, just some great tools. And then of course the community and the reporting forum. So these are all great opportunities. So as we switch gears now for Q&A, we'd really like to thank you for your attendance today and for paying attention as we go through this. This actually concludes our presentation today.